3, 2, 1.
What's up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, July 8th, 2018. Thank you for coming by. If you get a bad taste in your mouth when we talk about the downside, this video might not be for you. But I talk about the downside not just to be prepared and anticipate that as one option, right? Comparing it to the upside. But I also do it because that downside scenario, even in a year more of a bear market, that downside scenario is basically, in my opinion, a ton of money waiting for you, for myself, and for others. And that's why I talk about it, because I don't do it because I'm trying to be negative or discourage anybody about the markets, because as you know, I'm extremely bullish on blockchain and cryptocurrency and where it's headed and where it's going to end up. But right now, with where we are in that growth stage, talking about the downside is not a bad idea. And being prepared for it is a very good idea. So let's do it. I want to talk about this in this video. There's a couple of things I've noticed, and I figured it would be a good talking point, being we're at some critical resistance right now with Bitcoin. So let's see what will happen next in regards to that. But let's jump into the video and talk about this. So you can see I'm in that bear market time frame back in 2014, 2015, and you can see it on the charts. And there's really two things I want to point out to you on this. This is the daily time frame from a few years ago when this happened, this downtrend that we had. So first, I want to show you the 50 EMA, this blue line crossing this pink 200 EMA. It's exponential moving averages. So when that blue line crosses that pink line, the 200 EMA, it's a bearish move. And when you have traders, when you have long-term investors looking at the charts, especially long-term investors on something like the daily, they're going to see these things, and they're going to anticipate new lows in the market when things like that happen. The 50 crossing down through the EMA is a downtrend type of indicator. So what I want to point out to you is the first time that we had the blue 50 EMA cross above the 200 EMA, which is a bullish indicator, was probably right around, what was that? It was right around the beginning of June of 2014. A little mini recovery there. You can see that right there, and we can even look at the price range of when that momentum started. It was a 50% gain pretty quickly. Now, what you'll notice is it didn't stay up there too long at all, and we crossed the 50 EMA, went back down, and then from that first cross, right, that bullish move, that bullish cross, it was actually over a year. It was 516 days until it got another bullish cross of the 50 crossing the 200. It was over a year, 516 days. So that's one thing I want to point out to you. Now, let's go to the daily chart with where we are now in this downtrend that we're in. You can call it this bear market that we're in. And you can barely see it, but you see the 50 EMA had its first cross over the 200 EMA, and this was in May. And it actually did not last long at all. And to measure that momentum and what the price range was of that momentum, we can kind of just check it out, but close to 50%. Similar to that last bear market, but we had a quick cross right back below the 200 EMA. So 50 crossing back below the 200 EMA and really showing strong momentum down. This last little run we had is kind of leveling off that 50 EMA, which is a good sign. We would love to have this 50 kind of start curving back up and eventually cross the 200 EMA, even if it happened by October, would be extremely, extremely bullish and a great sign for cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because, and I'm not predicting that it's going to be 516 days before we get another cross like that. That's not what I'm saying. It's fully, there's a ton of possibilities that it could happen, by August or September, October. We can have that happen way quicker than it did in the last bear market. And there's a good amount of reasons why it might happen. But I'm preparing for a longer downtrend, mainly for accumulation, because this could be the single best opportunity, especially if you got into this game late, right? Say you bought here, say you got into here in December, or even right here in the beginning of December. If you got in, well, that's January actually right there, but if you got in those areas, you might have an amazing opportunity getting set up to happen for you if we continue to downtrend. And that's not something to ignore. Even if you've been here since 2012 and you've been accumulating since then, this is not something to ignore, and that's why I'm doing this video. So with all of that set for context to what I'm talking about here, there's one very important thing that I want to point out, and we can see it on the weekly. So on the weekly, I have the RSI down here at the bottom of the screen, and I want you to notice something. Basically, anytime that the RSI for Bitcoin has been below 40, it has proven to be an amazing time to accumulate Bitcoin. And if you are accumulating, then you're doing pretty well. And you can even stretch that to say anytime when you're buying any significant dip in Bitcoin, especially since 2015 and since the recovery, anytime you've bought any significant dip, that was a nice time to buy as well. But the reason I'm really talking about under that 40 line is because that 40 line on the RSI is something we talk about a lot in this channel in terms of dips and buying dips. But this is on the weekly, is because right now you can see we kind of had, we approached that 40 line on the RSI on the weekly for Bitcoin, but we did not break below it. If we see any type of resistance with where the markets are right now with Bitcoin, and we bounce down and we bounce below the 40 on the weekly, it could prove to be definitely a longer term bear market, maybe not like this one that we had back in 2014, 2015, but it could be, significantly longer than what we're all hoping for, type of bear market. We might be in the winter of 2018 going into 2019 at lows that we would have never anticipated. And in that scenario, we will most likely be under the 40 line on the RSI and Bitcoin. And I just want to prepare you, not saying I think it's going to happen, but be prepared for it to happen. Because this, if we get into this area on the RSI, will prove to be years and years ahead, to be the single greatest opportunity that we've all been given. And that's what I wanted to do this video on, because that downside is a possibility as of right now, and that's not something to be ignored. It's great to be bullish. It's great to cheer on Bitcoin and all the cryptocurrencies that you like and love, but it's wise to anticipate downside for accumulation, because if these areas happen, you can stand to make a lot of money from that long term if you're ready for it, right? It's all about being ready. So I wanted to share those thoughts real quick. I didn't want to make this too long of a video, but I really truly believe, this video really is exactly my mindset on the markets. This is how I approach it. This is, why I started the channel, to share these ideas, to share these concepts. But these are my thoughts. I'm curious to see if you agree with me. Do you think there's opportunity down there if we continue down? Can you see what I see with being under the 40 on the RSI on the weekly? Obviously, it's going to be from those previous highs, a way oversold area. And, I think it's not a promise, but definitely good opportunity for a huge bounce, a huge recovery. When that would happen, I don't know. But nobody knows what's going to happen. These are just my thoughts. If you're not a subscriber, I would love to have you as part of the channel, kind of brainstorm with me, think this through with me. And if you are a subscriber, I do appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and God bless.